At just 25, Kim Novak became a cinematic icon by portraying both the innocent shop assistant Judy and the enigmatic femme fatale Madeline in Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, a film often hailed as the greatest ever made. In this role, Kim expertly navigated the complexities of a woman with a split personality, drawing from her own life experiences to tackle the challenges of her inner world. Her character, Judy, becomes the obsession of James Stewart Scotty, a detective who becomes hopelessly infatuated with an illusion, ultimately putting Judy's life in peril. This tragic narrative accurately mirrored Kim's own experiences as she faced the insidious pressures of the Hollywood machine and the predatory nature of the studio system. Today, at the age of 91, Kim Novak remains a captivating figure. Although her decision to step back from the spotlight has helped her live better, there are still many complex stories of hers waiting to be explored. Marilyn Pauline Novak was born on February 13, 1933, in Chicago, Illinois. Her mother was a teacher before deciding to focus on marriage. Her father, Joseph, also a teacher, later worked as a dispatcher for the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad. Marilyn's upbringing was typical of a lower-middle-class family, relatively insulated from the worst effects of the Great Depression. However, beneath the facade of a seemingly perfect childhood lay a dark reality. Years later, she would disclose that she had been sexually assaulted during her youth. While the specifics remain largely private, this traumatic experience undoubtedly left a profound mark on her life, her career, and her mental well-being. As Kim began her schooling, the Depression was fading, and the United States was on the cusp of World War II. During this time, she participated in various wartime initiatives, like collecting gum wrappers. However, she struggled academically, often lost in her daydreams and painfully shy, even hiding behind curtains at home when guests arrived. Despite her shyness, her teachers encouraged her to perform in school plays to help sell war bonds. She became a prime target for bullies, and her lack of focus on schoolwork earned her little sympathy from her teachers. To make matters worse, her Czech surname made her a target for ridicule, especially when classmates discovered her grandfather's name was Adolf, a tough break for any child in the early 1940s. Her peers even resorted to throwing rotten pies at her, leaving her parents worried about their daughter's inability to make friends or connect socially. This situation was particularly challenging for Kim, as her older sister was outgoing, socially skilled, and clearly their father's favorite. Kim felt she could never earn his full approval. In the Kim household, their mother held the reins. She later recounted how her mother kept her sheltered, recalling an instance when a charming older boy brought her roses and asked her out. Despite her excitement, her mother flatly refused to let her go. Kim sat by the window, watching the flowers wilt, feeling trapped and longing to embrace life's experiences. Her mother's fears stemmed from the alarming crime rates in Chicago at the time, where there were daily news reports of violence and murder, particularly against women. To protect her daughter, Kim's mother even tried to make her look younger by insisting she wear pigtails whenever she was allowed outside. During this time, movies became Kim's hobby. She idolized Greta Garbo, admiring her authenticity and the mysterious allure of her performances. Kim appreciated how Garbo never revealed everything, always leaving her audience wanting more. This admiration would later influence Kim's portrayal of one of cinema's most enigmatic characters. As she entered her teenage years, Kim began to recognize her own beauty, which boosted her self-confidence tremendously. Although she eventually found fame in acting, Kim's first passion was art. While attending David Glasgow Farragut High School, she was determined to become an artist. Her talent earned her a scholarship to the prestigious School of the Art Institute of Chicago, but for reasons she kept private, she chose to attend Wright Junior College instead and began taking modeling jobs. In the summer of 1953, Kim participated in a promotional tour for a major refrigerator brand, traveling across the country with a group of young women for trade shows. This adventure led her to Los Angeles. While many stories from Hollywood are filled with dreams gone wrong, Kim's journey was remarkably different. She essentially stumbled into stardom. In Los Angeles, she learned about an opportunity at RKO Pictures, which was casting extras for The French Line, a film starring Jane Russell. Reflecting on her unexpected rise to fame, Kim noted that she never planned to become an actress. It simply happened as if by magic. While still in junior college, she visited a movie studio in Hollywood with a friend after a modeling gig in San Francisco. She was invited to do a walk-on role in The French Line. Shortly after, she signed a contract with Columbia Pictures and landed leading roles. At her audition, she channeled Rita Hayworth, draping herself alluringly over a fireplace. Her captivating line, combined with her stunning looks, was all the studios needed to see. Columbia Pictures was confident that Marilyn Pauline Novak could be their next big star. However, to fit the Hollywood mold, they decided she needed a new name. Early in her career, Kim's agent suggested she often wore lavender, and the studio quickly adopted this branding, dubbing her the Lavender Girl. They even went so far as to add lavender highlights to her blonde hair. The press exaggerated the narrative, claiming she had a full-blown obsession with the color. Her apartment was filled with lavender decor, from pillow slips to bathwater, and even her telephone was lavender. Ironically, Kim despised the color. The studio's focus on her appearance reflected their attitude toward her as a performer. Kim recalled how the head of publicity bluntly told her that she was just a piece of meat. It was harsh, but she felt she had to accept it. During her first screen test, the director advised everyone to ignore her voice and just focus on her looks. Yet, Kim was determined to remain true to herself. Drawing on her artistic background, she was choosy about the roles she accepted, which led to early clashes with studio head Harry Cohen over her name. He wanted something more mysterious, but she stood her ground. Kim described Cohen's office as intimidating, with him sitting high above her while she sat lower, creating a power imbalance. When she first entered his office, he announced they had decided to change her name. She sensed that accepting the new name would erase her identity, fearing it would lead to her disappearance in Hollywood. The name they proposed was Kit Marlowe, but she refused to abandon her family name. Cohen argued that audiences wouldn't flock to see someone with a Polish name, to which she retorted that she was Czech, not Polish. Ultimately, they compromised on Kim Novak, and Cohen became one of her strongest supporters. Reflecting on their relationship, Kim acknowledged that while Cohen didn't make her a star, she didn't do it alone either. It was a collaborative effort that led to her success. The studio team worked tirelessly to mold her into their vision of a leading lady. They unanimously agreed that her beauty was unparalleled, but they immediately put her on a strict diet to shed 15 pounds. They also had her dye her hair multiple shades of blonde before settling on the perfect hue. Columbia's wardrobe expert, Jean Louis, outfitted her with an extensive new wardrobe to match her slim figure and new hairstyle. Cohen moved Kim into the studio dormitory, enforcing a strict curfew. Whenever she left the premises, a fleet of private detectives trailed her, ensuring her safety. However, Kim's true measure of success would ultimately depend on her acting skills. As a novice in the industry, she had a long journey ahead if she wanted to be compared to icons like Rita Hayworth or Marilyn Monroe. In 1954, Kim Novak scored her first significant role alongside Fred MacMurray in the film Pushover. This noir film, known for its dark, mysterious aesthetic, didn't exactly set the box office on fire, but Kim's captivating performance and her striking, wide-eyed presence definitely caught the critics' attention. Following that, she appeared in the obscurely titled Pfaft with Jack Lemmon and made a brief, uncredited appearance as a harem girl in Son of Sinbad. Her real turning point arrived in 1955 with Five Against the House, a crime drama that earned her considerable acclaim. One reviewer remarked on her performance by asserting that Hollywood often appeared as a place of pure evil, suggesting that only the wicked could truly thrive there. This notion didn't sit well with Kim, particularly given her strained relationship with her father. By 1957, Kim was already gaining traction in Hollywood, but it was an unexpected twist that landed her the role that would become iconic. Alfred Hitchcock initially chose Vera Miles for the lead in Vertigo, but when Miles announced her pregnancy, Hitchcock urgently needed a replacement. Recognizing Kim's potential, he cast her as Judy Barton and Madeline Elster without even asking her to audition. Although Kim's agent, Cohen, was doubtful about the script at first, he quickly understood the invaluable opportunity Hitchcock represented for her career and encouraged her to take the role. Unlike Cohen, Kim felt enthusiastic about the script, even if she had reservations about Hitchcock's notoriously demanding style. Throughout filming, Kim found a deep connection to the script. She related to Judy's heartfelt plea to be loved for who she truly was. Reflecting on her own experience of transitioning into Hollywood, Kim empathized with the struggles of someone reshaped against their will, believing the film echoed her own desire to be seen and loved authentically. Despite being a well-known star, she was still earning a beginner's salary. Columbia Pictures hesitated to adjust her pay, prompting Kim to withdraw from Vertigo and seek a new agent to negotiate better terms. This decision led Cohen to suspend her contract, but Kim stood her ground. Eventually, the studio relented to avoid disappointing Hitchcock and offered her a revised contract that met her salary expectations. Her time on Vertigo ultimately shaped Kim's positive view of both the film and Hitchcock. Contrary to her initial fears, she found Hitchcock to be supportive of her creative freedom, making the project a standout experience for her. She expressed that Vertigo is among her favorite films for many reasons, particularly because it was the most comfortable she had ever felt while making a movie. She noted that Hitchcock, contrary to the rumors she had heard, allowed her to interpret her role as she saw fit. Today, Vertigo is celebrated as one of Alfred Hitchcock's greatest works, with critic Robin Wood calling it a masterpiece and ranking it among the most profound films in cinema history. The film garnered Academy Award nominations for Best Art Direction and Best Sound. In recent years, the film has solidified its position in the history of American cinema. At the time, neither Hitchcock nor Kim found much comfort in the delayed recognition, and opinions on Kim's performance varied widely. Bosley Crowther from the New York Times praised her, calling her remarkable in her dual roles, while another critic deemed her acting merely adequate. Kim herself expressed disappointment, feeling that her performance in Vertigo would always be remembered, even if she didn't think it was her best work. She acknowledged that there were moments in the film where she truly excelled. For Jimmy Stewart, the actor who plays the troubled detective, his role also faced mixed opinions. Viewers familiar with his earlier work struggled to accept his character's vulnerability, but modern audiences have come to appreciate the depth he brought to the role. As perceptions of Vertigo transformed, so did Kim's feelings about her involvement. She reflected that her work in the film would have meant little if it hadn't resonated with audiences. Fortunately, Vertigo experienced a revival, and people began to see its unique qualities, enhancing its reputation. Had it not been for this resurgence, it might have been forgotten in a film vault somewhere. When Vertigo topped the 2012 Sight and Sound poll as the greatest movie ever made, displacing Citizen Kane after 50 years, Kim reflected on her Hollywood journey. She felt that perhaps her experiences had been worthwhile and that she had indeed contributed something of value. During the filming of Vertigo, Kim Novak encountered someone who would significantly impact her life, Sammy Davis Jr. They first crossed paths in late 1956, thanks to a nudge from Davis's friend Tony Curtis, who sensed a unique connection between them. It turned out that Kim admired Davis as well, and at a party hosted by Curtis, they finally had the opportunity to chat. Their conversation flowed effortlessly throughout the night. Soon, a headline blared that Kim Novak was seriously dating the famous entertainer Sammy Davis Jr. Concerned about the media frenzy, Davis reached out to Kim to address the situation. Initially, she questioned whether he had leaked the story, but after he clarified things, she stood her ground. She invited him over for spaghetti, insisting that she didn't care about the opinions of the press or the studios. Yet Davis was acutely aware of the potential fallout, given the racist attitudes prevalent among influential figures like Harry Cohn, the head of Columbia Pictures. Kim was already weary of being manipulated by Cohn and recognized that the rumor of her dating a black man would enrage him. Despite the risks, her bond with Davis was genuine, and she was determined to continue seeing him, all while keeping their relationship under wraps. Their situation was precarious. By defying the racist norms upheld by Cohn and his peers, they risked not only their reputations, but also their financial stability. At that time, the audience could easily turn their backs on them, posing a danger to their careers and causing significant losses for their film studio. To keep their meetings discreet, they devised elaborate plans to avoid detection by studio spies. Davis even hid under a rug in the back of his chauffeured car to sneak into Kim's apartment. Eventually, he invested a portion of his wealth in a secluded Malibu hideaway where they could enjoy each other's company away from prying eyes. However, their careful efforts were ultimately in vain. While attending a memorial dinner for his brother in New York, Cohn was informed by one of his aides about the rumored romance between Kim and Davis, even mentioning whispers of marriage. The aide presented Cohn with a copy of the Chicago Sun-Times, which featured the scandalous story, putting Kim and Davis's relationship in jeopardy. Cohn was furious and determined to ruin the relationship at all costs. He believed that if the wedding happened, Kim would soon face the grim reality of becoming a widow before even starting her honeymoon. To put his plan into action, he reached out to his old friend, mobster Mickey Cohen. Mickey decided to target Davis through his elderly father. At the Hollywood Park racetrack, Cohen and his crew confronted Davis Sr. He informed Davis Sr. that he had received a call from Chicago with orders to harm Sammy. If Sammy does not comply with their demands, they will break his legs and gouge out his remaining eye. A reminder of the injury he endured in a car accident 4 years ago. Davis Sr. understood that the combined might of ruthless criminals like Harry Cohn and Mickey Cohen posed a significant threat to his son. Despite his own fame, Davis Jr. relied on the protection of Italian mobster Sam Gana, who could keep him safe in Las Vegas and Chicago, but not in Hollywood. Cohen made it clear to Davis Sr. that Sammy Jr. had just 24 hours to marry a black woman. In January 1958, Harry Cohn wrote a hefty check to singer Lorraine White and 23-year-old Mary Davis Jr. But their marriage was anything but joyful. A frustrated Davis Jr. spent their wedding day drinking, and in a drunken outburst, lashed out at his new bride, lamenting why he couldn't just live his life. Then, a friend found him aiming a gun at his head. The friend intervened, disarming him and leaving him alone in his room. Meanwhile, a large wedding cake downstairs, adorned with the word happiness, starkly contrasted with Davis's reality. Kim was left reeling by the entire situation and began to question her ties to Hollywood. She insisted that her relationship with Sammy Davis Jr. was purely platonic and that it was nobody else's concern. She recognized the dangers of their association. Being a white woman linked to a black man, regardless of his fame, was fraught with complications. She recalled feeling like she was caught in a storm, with her agent warning her that her career would be over if she continued seeing Sammy, and some friends even cutting off contact. Reflecting on their time together, she remembered how delightful Sammy was, filled with humor and fun. Their shared moments, like building snowmen and ice skating in Chicago, felt like genuine friendship. However, the media twisted their bond, sensationalizing it as a romantic affair. The studio reacted with panic, insisting she couldn't be seen with him. For Kim, it wasn't about romance, it was about the absurdity of societal judgments based on race. She cherished their friendship and the joyful times they shared, but the escalating pressure, including guards stationed at her home, made her feel trapped in a ridiculous situation. She simply didn't want to live like that. Just a month after Davis's farcical wedding, Harry Cohn passed away from heart failure, a consequence of overindulging at dinner. His funeral turned out to be one of the most lavish and widely attended for a private individual, drawing an astonishing crowd. This prompted the witty radio and TV personality Red Skelton to quip that it was a testament to Cohn's philosophy: if you give the public what they want, they'll show up. After wrapping up Vertigo, Kim teamed up with director Richard Quine for the comedy Bell, Book and Candle. Her excitement for the film stemmed from two key factors: Quine, who had directed her in Pushover, and the chance to collaborate again with Jimmy Stewart, her co-star from Vertigo. Kim admitted to being deeply in love with Quine and enjoyed their creative partnership, even though they got engaged but never married. She held Stewart in high regard, describing him as genuine and natural, which made their on-screen chemistry shine. Their collaboration paid off, as the film grossed over $2 million. However, after Cohn's death, Kim's career took a different turn. She reflected on his stronghold over the studio, noting that his absence left a void. The remaining team struggled to find quality scripts, and she didn't want to be part of that stagnation. So she decided to carve her own path and eventually distanced herself from Hollywood. She pointed out how, in contrast to today, living away from the industry meant you could still maintain your career with the right support. Initially, though, her routine didn't change much, and she took on the role of Betty in Middle of the Night, a film that critics panned. Despite this, she earned her second Laurel Award for Top Female Star in 1959 and considered this role among her best. Her performance in Strangers When We Met garnered her a third Laurel Award in 1960, another project she cherished. Kim's talent shone brightly, and she remained a beloved figure in Hollywood, collecting Laurel Awards annually until 1963. A significant highlight came on February 8, 1960, when she received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Hollywood Boulevard. Just 6 years after her debut as an extra in The French Line, she reached the peak of her fame. Though she was eager to work with Quine and Jack Lemmon on The Notorious Landlady, she found the experience less satisfying than she had hoped. In 1962, she decided to explore her creativity further by starting her own production company and partnering with film productions for Boys' Night Out, where she shared the screen with James Garner and Tony Randall. Unfortunately, the film didn't resonate with critics or audiences, and marked the only production from her company. After her experience with Boys' Night Out, Kim Novak took a step back to evaluate her career. As she approached her 30, an age when Hollywood often considers actresses to be nearing middle age, she remained stunningly beautiful. However, Kim was determined not to be defined solely by her looks. She noted that while she could embody glamour and beauty, she didn't want to get lost in that image. During this period, Kim began to grapple with her mental health, facing symptoms of bipolar disorder that she hadn't yet recognized. She recalled feeling erratic, struggling with mental illness without realizing it. Sometimes the press's laughter and disapproval would distract her, affecting her performance. This realization led Kim to redirect her focus from acting to something that had always held personal significance for her: painting. Once she made this choice, she effectively closed the door on her Hollywood career. Much like her idol Greta Garbo, she grew weary of the superficial and oppressive nature of the film industry. Reflecting on her departure, she mentioned that it was better to leave a situation before it left her, as she felt films were becoming repetitive, and she didn't want to be confined to a single image. She craved growth, learning, and self-expression, rather than waiting for the perfect role to come along. Even though she shifted her focus away from acting, Kim remained open to intriguing opportunities. She was drawn to a role as a waitress in Of Human Bondage in 1964, but her experience was marred by a difficult relationship with co-star Lawrence Harvey. Kim later shared her unhappiness during the shoot, to which Harvey responded with irritation, questioning why she didn't consider how her mood affected others. Following this challenging experience, she nearly walked away from Hollywood and acting altogether. However, an unexpected chance to work with the legendary director Billy Wilder on Kiss Me, Stupid reignited her interest. She had long admired Wilder and jumped at the opportunity. albeit without knowing what she was getting into. Unfortunately, the film didn't live up to expectations, and Kim later viewed her involvement as a mistake, not only because of the film's reception, but also due to its consequences. A few years later, when the Kim family planned a trip to Rome in hopes of meeting the Pope, they believed Kim's fame would help secure an audience. Their Catholic faith made this meeting particularly meaningful. However, when they were denied this opportunity, Kim felt troubled, believing her role in Kiss Me Stupid had played a part in the refusal. She expressed regret, especially for the disappointment it caused her parents, who lamented that her career choices had kept them from receiving the Pope's blessing. It's hard to say just how much of a movie fan Pope Paul VI really was, but he certainly didn't seem to appreciate a film where Dean Martin's character had to sleep with someone every night to avoid a headache. In this story, his friend hires a woman named Polly the Pistol to help him out. In 1964, Kim Novak ventured to England, hoping to find more rewarding roles than those she had in Hollywood. She starred in The Amorous Adventures of Moll Flanders, a film that, despite doing well at the box office, left her feeling disappointed due to its heavily censored final cut. She reflected on how the censors stripped the film of its intended lusty portrayal of a fascinating period in English history, leaving little of substance. Yet her time in England had its bright spots. While filming, Kim fell in love with British actor Richard Johnson, and they tied the knot on March 15, 1965. This led her to step back from acting to pursue her passion for art and focus on her life with Johnson. Unfortunately, their marriage quickly soured, and they divorced after just over a year, although they remained friends. Kim eventually returned to the screen in 1968 with The Legend of Lila Clare. Director Robert Aldrich was excited to cast her in a dual role, where she portrayed both a murdered film star and the actress reenacting her life. He praised Kim for embodying the perfect blend of innocence and extraordinary sexuality. Despite the opportunity, Kim later expressed regret about the film, calling it a strange experience that felt humiliating to watch. Aldrich had made many classics, but this one didn't quite hit the mark. After the 1969 comedy western The Great Bank Robbery, where she mostly rode around in a bikini, Kim entered a 2-year relationship with actor Michael Brandon, which served as a distraction from her lackluster projects. She then stepped in at the last minute for an unwell Rita Hayworth in Tales That Witness Madness, marking yet another twist in her rocky career. This film, marketed as an orgy of the damned, received mixed reviews. While the cast was strong, Kim again seemed misaligned with the film's tone. By this point, her time in cinema seemed to be winding down. She made her television debut in 1973 with The Third Girl from the Left, which featured her partner Brandon but was poorly received and did little to revive her career. It wasn't until 1975's Satan's Triangle, set in the enigmatic Bermuda Triangle, that she found a project that truly showcased her talents. Critics praised her performance as both beautiful and captivating. This role proved she could handle complex characters, even when the storyline kept audiences guessing about her intentions. Kim Novak's love for horses has deep roots. She embraced equestrian life as soon as her schedule allowed. She often reflects on the profound connection she feels with these animals, explaining that they inspire personal growth by demanding honesty. If you're not genuine, they simply won't respond, which means they bring out the best in you. This passion for horses led to a significant turning point in her life back in 1974, when she called a veterinarian for her ailing horse. This chance encounter introduced her to Dr. Robert Malloy, and their relationship flourished, culminating in marriage in 1976. Kim describes their partnership by noting that her husband doesn't see her as the Hollywood star Kim Novak. He knows her as the woman who stepped away from the limelight. Malloy, who was her equine vet, has no interest in the film industry, and she appreciates that. While Kim considered having children, she and Malloy ultimately chose not to have any. In a candid conversation with Larry King in the mid-2000s, she expressed a philosophical view on fate. suggesting that if something is meant to happen, it will. And since parenthood wasn't in the cards for her, she embraced her husband's children as her own. After tying the knot, Kim and Malloy settled at B Ranch in Eagle Point, Oregon. Even in this serene setting, she didn't completely turn her back on Hollywood. She made occasional returns to the screen, appearing in films like The White Buffalo, which took her back to the American West of the 1880s, and Juggalo Justice, where her role was more subdued. In 1979, Kim confronted a past relationship by attending the Academy Awards with Sammy Davis, a date that had been over 2 decades in the making. They met at his home, free from the watchful eyes of the media, and enjoyed a night out together. At the ceremony, they took the bold step of dancing in public, an act that felt liberating to Kim. She noted how different things were now, recalling that no one even took a picture of them that night. One of her most memorable later roles came in the 1980 film The Mirror Cracked, adapted from an Agatha Christie novel. This marked a significant moment in her career, although it would be her last film appearance for over 10 years. Working alongside Elizabeth Taylor was a highlight for Kim. After that, she starred in the TV movie Malibu, where she played a real estate agent, and participated in the 1985 reboot of the new Alfred Hitchcock Presence, aiming to revive the quality storytelling she admired from the legendary director. After her Hollywood heyday, Kim Novak found a significant role in the primetime soap opera Falcon Crest, a nod to a stage name that Harry Cohn once suggested for her. Kit Marlowe, the character Kim portrayed, was as mysterious and glamorous as her earlier role in Vertigo. Set against the picturesque backdrop of California's wine country before retreating to a private island, Kit's life mirrored the allure of the vineyards around her. Joining Falcon Crest posed a personal challenge for Kim. She recalled how people often remarked on the difficulties of television, especially for someone with her film background. Intrigued by the challenge, she embraced the opportunity, finding enjoyment in pushing her limits. While she occasionally took on film and TV roles in the US, Kim also explored opportunities in Europe, starring in the German film I Have Been Very Pleased and the British film The Children in 1990. Yet she still longed for a substantial role in an American film and urged her agent to find one. Just as she was about to close an important chapter in her life, she received a call from Los Angeles about Sammy Davis Jr.'s declining health. Kim rushed to see him, and during their last meeting, Davis, who had openly expressed his affection for her, dressed to impress. Sadly, he passed away shortly after their encounter. In 1990, director Mike Figgis offered Kim a role in Listomania, which piqued her interest enough to consider returning to acting. She was cast as a terminally ill woman reconciling with her estranged son and facing her past. Unfortunately, her experience on the film was challenging. Right from the start, Kim and Figgis clashed, particularly regarding the portrayal of her character in flashback scenes. Figgis chose to cast a younger actress, Sarah Fawn, for those moments, leaving Kim feeling disappointed as she had envisioned playing those scenes herself. She expressed her frustration about Figgis's approach, feeling he dismissed her insights in favor of simply sticking to the script. Although she acknowledged her own unprofessionalism in the situation, she felt strongly about her interpretation of the character and the script's depth. Figgis's insistence on cutting her from the film, if she didn't comply, left her feeling defeated. Despite the behind-the-scenes turmoil, critics praised Listomania and Kim's performance as the dying woman. However, by the film's end, her enthusiasm for acting had diminished. She reflected on her experience, admitting that the challenges of promoting a film often overshadowed the joy of filming itself. Yet, she also recognized that she would miss the magic of making movies, especially when a good script came along. Kim Novak's exit from the entertainment scene was understated. She simply chose to step away without any grand announcements or heartfelt interviews. Her departure was deeply personal and significantly shaped by her mental health, a topic that was rarely discussed back in the early 90s. Unlike many in the industry who cling to their past fame, Kim has shown no signs of regret or longing for her former life. Instead, she sought authenticity, steering clear of the traps that ensnare so many celebrities. Her hard work has led her to a fulfilling life filled with painting, caring for horses, and enjoying a happy marriage in a picturesque setting. After leaving Hollywood, Kim continued to receive recognition for her contributions to film. In 1995, Empire magazine named her one of the 100 stars in film history, and in 1997, she was honored with an honorary Golden Bear Award at the Berlin International Film Festival. However, in July 20 hours, she faced a devastating setback when a fire ravaged her home in Eagle Point, Oregon, sparked by a falling tree that took down power lines. The blaze destroyed her house and many treasured possessions, including scripts, artwork, and a computer filled with a decade's worth of memoirs. Reflecting on this loss, Kim took it as a sign that perhaps she wasn't meant to write her biography, realizing that what truly mattered was her safety, and that of her animals. If Kim needed a reminder of the challenges she had left behind, a rare public appearance at the 2014 Oscars provided one. After years away from the spotlight, the media was eager to see how time had affected the iconic Hitchcock star. As she stepped out of her limousine, observers noted the signs of plastic surgery that seemed less than expertly done. The press pounced, and even Donald Trump joined in, suggesting she sue her surgeon, while various outlets made unkind and even cruel remarks about her appearance. Kim later admitted that the harsh comments took a significant toll on her, acknowledging her own mistakes regarding surgery, but questioning whether anyone is without flaws. This appearance marked her last public outing, as she retreated back to the tranquility of Oregon, far removed from the chaos of social media and Hollywood gossip. Despite the challenges she faced, Kim describes herself as a fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm. When asked about her ideal day, she paints a picture filled with creativity, nature, and her beloved animals. While she occasionally has regrets, she finds immense joy in knowing she made the right choices in life without compromising her values. Reaching 91 years old while remaining passionate about photography, music, painting, and her love for animals and family is a remarkable achievement. Her iconic role as Madeline in Vertigo is undoubtedly her most defining, but she has delivered many memorable performances throughout her career. So why not take some time to revisit Kim Novak's films while we still can? That's a wrap for this episode. Thanks for joining us today, and see you next time.